I think we're live.
I do too.
Awesome. All right. Well, hello, everyone. I am super excited to announce our premiere episode of our brand new podcast, which we call The Light Gate. And I am hosting along with Dolly Safran. For those of you who don't know me, I've been involved in the UFO field for about 35 plus years now. I've written several books, 100 articles. I'm all over social media. I'm hoping a lot of you already know who I am, so I don't have to go through a long introduction. And for those who don't know Dolly Safran, she's the subject of one of my books, Symmetry, A True UFO Adventure. She's a lifelong contactee. She's been on Coast to Coast and numerous other radio shows and podcasts, such as The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers, who will be our guest tonight. And we're just going to have a good time exploring all kinds of subjects, UFOs, the paranormal, ghosts, Bigfoot, cryptozoology, psychic stuff. I really hope to cover all kinds of stuff on this show. And Dolly and I are just going to have fun, have a good conversation with really interesting people. And yeah, do you have anything to add to that, Dolly?
No, except that we are broadcasting to many different platforms, and it is through the United Paranormal Radio Network, and they're out of Louisiana, and it is 105.3 and 107.4, and we're excited they've accepted us. And
107.7.
107.7, I'm sorry. And it's exciting. I want to give a heads up and a hi to Joe Montaldo. He's a great guy, and he's part of this network and probably one of the big bosses. And we're excited, and thank you very much for allowing us to be here.
Yeah, that's the United Public Radio. Is public? Yeah, United
Paranormal Radio
Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7. And yeah, numerous platforms, YouTube, Facebook. You can check out our page, The Light Gate, on Facebook. Subscribe if you like what you see. And yeah, let's get started with our amazing guest, who I am so thankful for because we really owe it to her for getting us started on this show. And of course, her name is Michelle Desrochers. She's a powerhouse in this field. If you haven't heard of her, you should have, because she is one of the leading investigators in Canada and really covers a wide variety of subjects. She's the co-host of the very popular podcast, The Outer Realm, along with her friend Amelia Pisano. Pisano, tomato. And at any rate, yeah, Michelle's all over the place. She's been in this field a very long time. She specializes in malevolent hauntings, UFO studies, all kinds of cryptozoology, legends, and folklore. She's been on TV many times, including Paranormal Survivor, Haunted Case Files, My Paranormal Nightmare, and more. I'm hoping to talk to her today about her adventures on TV, how she became a successful podcaster, some of her own personal experiences with ghosts and UFO and ET stuff, and whatever she was willing to talk about. So let's just bring her on. Michelle, are you there?
Hello.
Yay.
There we go. Hold on. I'm just trying to get myself in my proper spot here, which is at the bottom. I'm working my way. It's like Tetris. There we go.
I'm so excited to see you, Michelle.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I love you guys. You've both been on our show several times, so lots.
Now you're in the hot seat. So
I am in the hot seat.
What about this fair play? I'll try. I'm a nice guy. Don't worry.
Oh, I know. I don't know you. You're a big pussy cat, both of you.
So yeah, I'm so excited. First of all, I just want to give you a huge thanks for helping Dolly and I out and giving us this really wonderful opportunity.
Pleasure.
Really.
It's a pleasure. You guys are a nice addition to our United Public Radio family. So essentially, you're starting off the week being Sunday evening. Everybody always says, oh, it's the end of the week, Sunday. No, you guys are starting off the whole lineup. So there we go. No pressure.
Yes, we'll be airing each Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours. Whew, it's going to be fun.
I know. I love it though. 2 hours is going to fly by. You'll see.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, I know
Yes.
it, having been on the other end.
Right? Before you know it, you're there.
Well, now let me just say hi to some of the people in chat. I see Dana Matthews. Hello, Dana. There's quite a few people. I'm very excited. 30 so far, 33. Very cool. There's Sarah Mill, the synthetic nature. Yay. There's Chewy. Hi, Chewy. Neural channels. Michael Kennedy, of course. Hi, Michael. Thanks so much for helping us out with the chat. There's Santana Barish. Oh, John Groves, my friend. Glad John made it. Very cool. Tammy Waite. Let's see. There's quite a few of you guys. John P.
Yeah. I want to shout out to Carrie Bell. Hi, Carrie. He's a longtime friend of ours. Also, Michael Kennedy is in the room, and he is our moderator, and he's an awesome guy. Y'all should all pretty much know him already. And go ahead, Preston.
Yeah. Linda Burton, Brian Morgan, Gray Troll, Pandora's Box. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you all coming in and joining us today, and we're going to have a fun time learning all about Michelle and her amazing adventures.
Oh, there are many. I tend to be the life of the party wherever I end up.
So here's my first question for you. Is this something that you grew up always kind of experiencing the paranormal? Because I came in as a skeptic. This bowled me over. I had no idea any of this was real. And
Right.
I have a feeling you kind of grew up with it. I don't know, but
I did because my family, like my mom, especially my grandfather, who I spent a lot of time with growing up, family of intuitives, mediums. So seeing dead people wasn't something that was a real big surprise. It was pretty accepted in our family. But what I liked about it is I wasn't deterred from it. If I saw, especially my grandparents, you go there for the Christmas dinner and stuff, and you see like dead guys hanging out and just kind of like, but I didn't fear it. And instead of deterring me saying, don't be silly, they would just put out a bunch of old photos and not say anything to me and just ask me, do you see anybody here? And I'd be able to basically, pick one off. Like they would ask me for a description beforehand, then show me pictures. So I wasn't being led and I wasn't being discouraged. So with that being said, I think I was quite comfortable. But you're not talking about spirits who are stuck. You're just seeing loved ones and stuff. And then it just sort of went from there, I think,
So it wasn't really even paranormal for you. It was just kind of normal.
It was very normal. Yes. I think it became more paranormal as I reached puberty and things got really crazy. All those emotions going and, then it got a little bit crazy. And as, into adult life, I think I started to have more recollection of the crossover between, ET and alleged, interdimensional or dimensional beings that
Were
weren't
you
always very nice.
converse with anybody you saw paranormally, like your loved ones or ET very young? Do you remember having intuitive, intelligent conversation with them?
Oh yes, I mean with family members, it was all pretty generic. Because I was like 4 and 5 years old, seeing dead people, and they were always very friendly. This is how I was able to not fear. I think if I would have had something really creepy happen to me immediately, it would have really set the stage, and I wouldn't be here right now saying, "Oh hey, I'm in the field and I'm comfortable in the field." But I did end up having something very malevolent come in and, aging myself a little bit, but there was no internet back then. So I had to, go to the library and do things the old fashioned way. And the best I could come up with back in the day was just doing good old fashioned clearings from white witchcraft and things like that. That's all they really had.
Wow.
I know.
Your witchcraft, how old were you when you started practicing that? Who taught
Well,
you?
I didn't practice it at all. Actually, it was just, I knew I had something I had to clear out of the house. Like I knew something wasn't natural.
Okay.
So the only thing I could fall back on was how to cleanse your space. And I was probably high school age, like maybe
Wow.
14, 15. And, like I preach mindset only because I'm living proof of it. My mindset is what I had to work on to get myself through all that. I thought I did a stand-up job. And then my sisters recently said, no, you moved out and we were stuck there with all that stuff going on. I'm like, wow. And I get nothing for effort, So yeah, I finally, like years later, like probably literally about 3 years ago is when we actually went in. And, Amelia and I finally said, okay, enough's enough, because my mother sold the family home. It was still active. It was the story that was portrayed in my paranormal nightmare. And we finally cleared it. And I'll tell you something, it took a lot. And there was dimensional stuff going on there as well, because my mother, of all people, sent me a recording. She says, something's going on in this corner. I'm thinking, I'm losing your marbles. I'm not seeing anything. And so she sent me an audio recording. And you guys may have more insight into this than I do, but it sounded like, it took me back to the ancient times of airships. It sounded like rope rubbing against the mast of an old wooden ship. It just creaked and creaked. And I was just like, oh my gosh. When I heard it, she goes, this is what I was telling you I was hearing every night at the same time. I didn't hear any of that growing up. There was nothing. I don't know where it came from. When we tried to RV it, it was just like.
Maybe that's more like a residual haunting type thing.
We thought so, but where did it come from?
It came from, if you were in the house at the time, and were you out of the house when you heard?
Long gone. This was three years ago.
Okay.
Believe me, long gone. I've been living south now for about 30 years. This has started happening.
It's been my experience that sometimes intelligent entity, consciousness, is not leaving, and it's hanging out because it's attached to your family some way, and they don't know how to talk to you, but they'll give you sound bites of where they think they are. In other words, if he still thinks he's on sea, he's on a boat, and he's still in that, he will project that to you and you'll hear it. And when you cleared the house, did you all get a feeling that you were moving this particular entity out?
The house is cleared long before that. And then I think clearing the house made way for other benign things to be in there. I mean, RVing the whole area. I mean, we would see like UFOs up there all the time. I used to see them growing up like in real time. I would just come home, and I would lay on the hood of my car and I would just look up and you could just see them, because back then there wasn't a lot of satellites. It was nothing. It's way north. So you're not seeing, like a lot of the cover we have in the south.
What parallel are you on? Do you know?
Up north, northern Ontario, Canada. I could not even tell you, but it was insane.
Parallel is, you may be on a ley line. I don't know exactly where you live. You'd have to tell
up north, northern Canada. Yeah, it was way up northern Ontario, so Sudbury area. Yeah. That's pretty far. That's about 5 hours from, let's say, Niagara Falls. That's like north of there. And we had times when they would show up and the military would be all over that valley the next day. They were just, we're just sitting there watching these big helicopters go through. It's like, yeah, I saw it.
Pretty active area. I've got several cases up in the Ontario area myself.
Oh, really? Fascinating. Fascinating. Oh, it went on forever. We always saw them. I'm not surprised.
In the north and in the south poles. In other words, all the ley lines come closer together, and they're actually magnified, and they're very, very strong, and that lets you hear more, see more. Your ETs are doing more out there. That's a safe place for them to go.
So are ley lines, Dolly, then sort of connected to the magnetic?
Electromagnetic field lines are ley lines on the Earth.
Same
and
thing.
I refer to them. And the closer they are together at the top, at the two different poles, the stronger the currents are, and it gives them an easy way to maintain their flight and transmit whatever they're going to transmit. They hear things better up there. It's just
that would explain hotspots then.
Yes, there are hotspots up there, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I loved it. I would find myself from a very young age, 6 and 7 years old, just going to sit at the picture window like this at night, and I would just look up and I would say, where are you? My mother's like, what are you doing?
So did they ever answer? I mean, did they come close? Was this just a sightings, or was there communication or contact?
I'm sure there was communication. Now I'm sure of it, because things I know now and things that are happening to me now, I don't believe in coincidence at all. believe that, I just didn't remember a lot of them because it's all very well, I say it's all very natural. I still have an issue with them hanging out in the boudoir when I'm supposed to be like, sleeping and stuff. And it's like, okay, you know what? This is a problem for me. but they just really, they're just really active. And I just know because, with communications that I've had with them, they've always been there, and that's sort of exactly what they say. We've always been here. Like I think now it's kind of, what are you all on about? It's like this isn't anything new. It's just, well, it is from me.
Well, let me back up for a second then, because you're having ghostly stuff going on from as a little kid onwards, right?
Yeah.
And that wasn't scaring you. This was just something you accepted.
No.
So no negative experiences with ghosts, really.
Oh, sure. Yeah, something really negative came in once. It was, like I said, it was roughly around high school age at that point, and something really malevolent came in. And it was, I think it wreaked major havoc in the household.
Like poltergeist stuff, activity, or?
Well, that would be easy because that's just me projecting. I can't get a hold of that. But no. I mean, there were times where I would come in at night, and I could just feel this presence rushing me. It became a game after a while, especially when you're coming home, just race down the stairs, and I close the door and something would come up behind me, go boom, right into the door. And I'm like, ha. After a while, it's just, I've always had a strange mindset in dealing with them because my grandfather was, really, really great medium. And he would just say, like, you could feel uncomfortable. You could feel that fear, but just don't give it to him. And that's my mindset. There's ridiculous voice recordings of me being growled at and just being called every name in the book. And I'm like, well, I'm having a bad day too. It's not just you, things like this. It's just, I just won't give it to them. And I've been very successful in the way I deal with things in helping other people.
Do you think these are human spirits then, or demonic spirits, or what?
I guess with demonic, it really depends on what your faith is. I mean, it's a dimensional or interdimensional being for sure. Whatever they come in. I guess if you're a ufologist, you might say, oh, yeah, as a reptilian, big, ugly, and growly. If you're a religious person, which I'm not, but I grew up a person in a family of faith. And, so yeah, they would have called them, demonic for sure. But I mean, from what I understand, even a gray will growl at you, is what I've been told. It's like, what?
Every now and then they'll growl.
See? So maybe that's what it was.
Remember that you're on the wrong end of that growl.
Yeah, exactly.
You did something. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I just sit back and okay.
Did any of them ever identify to you like I had an entity come after me when I was about 5, 6, and it pursued me relentlessly. And I was lucky to have my great grandmother in the house who was very, very psychic, and she realized it was happening, and she taught me how to repel it and make it go away. I was lucky that way. But it named itself to me. Did yours name to you?
Yes, I know exactly who it was, and I would never say that name. No, I don't need everybody conjuring this thing up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A very, very old entity. But again, it's just, I mean, there's recordings of him. He's just come through on recordings, and he very calmly, he'll say, I'm here. I'm just like, that's nice.
Yeah,
nobody cares.
Sure.
So it's, it's exactly like that. I believe you'll often hear me say acknowledgement is empowerment.
Right.
And that's in anything in life. If you acknowledge it, you're empowering it. Just don't give it away. Nothing deserves to be empowered over you. Right. It doesn't matter what it is. And I have spent my life, doing what I do. I've helped like hundreds, maybe thousands of people all over the world for the last 2 decades. So I don't know, I must be doing something right, but it's just,
That's your life path. So,
I guess so, yeah.
So as someone with mediumistic abilities, would you say that you have a spirit that works with you, a kind of a spirit guide, or a spirit friend who helps, is you're there with you, sort of? Because I've heard a lot of mediums say that.
My grandfather was very instrumental in helping me. I didn't really, again, it just, even like with my mom, because my mother had passed recently, and she'd do this thing with the lights, and I'd say, okay, you know what I do, right? Stop it. It's like, I don't know. You're not just yanking my chain or something else is, and I am not tuned in all the time. But my grandfather paved the way for many things for me. And after that was my uncle, which was his oldest son, who came in. And it just sort of went from there. I really just went intuitively with things. I didn't really work or call on guides or anything like that.
Okay.
But
So
everybody.
when did the whole ET thing start? You said you had sightings and there was some communication, but at one point it ramped up, right?
Yeah. I think as a child they were always there, and I know it's generational because my grandfather, I just want to acknowledge this. Thank you very much. My grandfather used to have a telescope, and he was always watching the stars. And my family had an island even further up north where they would have, up there they're called camps, not cottages. And he would have a camp up there, and he would go for months at a time. Like my grandmother's like 6 kids. Thanks for that, But he would just go up there because he felt so connected to the water and the trees, and he would often make reference to, otherworldly connections. And I would think I was just too young to really grasp what it all meant. And he said, always just said, he goes, don't be afraid of that, And my mother had many experiences, and I've come to ask her, I asked her questions before she passed. I need to know how far down the line this goes. And she had basically said to me, she goes, well, your sister was supposed to be a twin. And it started out that way.
Oh,
and
wow.
She said, and you have one sister that came there and another one after. So she goes, all I can tell you is there were 2. And in ultrasounds, I kind of went, all right, I'll leave that alone. And, so I think it was very much a part of my existence, my life as a child. I just didn't recall it. I mean, God, I can't even recall half of my childhood events with, I'd have to look at my best friend at the time. She would tell me all these things, and I'd be like, where was I? Where was I? And when she passed away many years ago now, I'm just like, all I remember too is like, I never remember anything ever again. I really struggle with it still. But now because I think being in the field, I have to tell you at least 50% of the families I've worked with on a paranormal level had extraterrestrial sightings and connections and background. So I knew there was a crossover really early on in my career, and I was not always working with people thinking they were dealing with entities and such. I knew it wasn't. And people would send me photos and things like that and be like, yeah, okay. So I just started opening up more to it. And then, I've like I said, I've done, the show is what opened me up more, I think, because I've been in media for 20 years, in all forms of it, usually in the hot seat. And, the outer realm started off in an actual radio station, like where I had to go travel there and be in a studio. And of course, when the pandemic hit, everybody ended up, everything shut down. So I just started doing it. And from the manor house, which we had, and the walls were 3 feet thick, and my sound was much better than at the station. So I just stayed with it. When it opened up, I just never went back. So it's just meeting people like yourselves, that sort of started talking to me, and I'm going, but I know that, I know this. And then they just started coming in all the time. So
that's very interesting.
Dolly, just ease into it. It's okay. No, I don't think so.
No. I want to say something to you. I wasn't ever going to speak of this. Preston doesn't know what I'm about to say. I know that I was meant to meet you. And it's a weird feeling, but I just knew it. And it was like a precog for me. And when I realized what you were able to do, at the very moment I needed help, you were there. And that is during the pandemic, Mama did something that got her in trouble, and she was literally imprisoned. and by something else, and we couldn't get her out, and we were trying and trying and trying. And when I told you about it, you're the only human being I ever spoke to of it, because it was becoming frantic. This was like, what is it, a year ago now? Just about.
It's weird because you filled in the blank. She started coming to me, and I remember I'm walking around in a vision, and I turn around and I look, and I remember doing this. she was a tall
Yeah.
gal, and I was like,
Mama being your ET contact,
Yes,
for people who don't know.
my ET mom.
and I just went, oh, and she just looked at me. She went, Mother, and I went, all right. I still had no idea what it was, and then I ended up in a communication on a device that I was doing for something entirely different, and it kept coming through, and that's where the location was somewhat given to me, and that's when I contacted you, and I said, blah 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 blah, and you went, ha.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God.
I know.
We'd been trying and trying and trying, and you and your crew, your
Yes.
people went in and released
Try to keep that anonymous so nobody gets in trouble. Just throw me under the bus, Dolly. It's okay.
I'm so sorry. But I wanted
right.
to acknowledge that, because what you do is phenomenal to me. You're great at what you do. I mean, you're very good. Yes.
It is a big effort. Yes.
Yeah, this clarifies things for me a little bit, because I always wondered exactly. I mean, there is a connection between ET contact and the paranormal and mediumship. And I think when people are having ET contact, it's very much telepathic. Mediumship, same thing. Yes. So it's no surprise at all that there will be bleed-throughs. But what I find super interesting is I've talked to so many people who've experienced this, and some are like, oh, I have no problem contacting ghosts, but these ET guys are scaring me. And other people would be like, I have no problem with the ETs, but I don't want to talk to dead people.
That's true.
So where would you fall, Michelle?
I love to talk to everything. I'm funny that way. And I think as I became more comfortable with it and started realizing that, okay, this is all me. There is nothing to fear. This is all on me. Once I can calm down, and through remote viewing it, Amelia's like, just stop worrying, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow. I'm just, you feel most vulnerable when you go to bed. I wouldn't want anything bothering me. It's like having an intruder, just even in physical form, coming in there. I mean, the first time I was ever touched, this was probably 3 years ago, where I acknowledged it. And I was always getting hands on my head. I could always feel hands on my head. And at one point, I hadn't fallen asleep yet. So they jumped the gun. I'm like, touch me and I'll break your arm. It was that simple. And that was the end of it. And all of a sudden, everything stopped. And I'm just laying there going, Matt, because that was the first time for me where I was really conscious of the fact that they were there. But it was my own fault. Because, everybody talks about the CE5 movement. All I did, I didn't have to do anything special, which reaffirms my the already connection that I had. I just said, okay, I'm ready to deal with you guys now. And it was almost instantly, and it became like the floodgates open, and it was a snowball effect that just came at me like, just, I felt like Wile E. Coyote, just gone. And it's just like, okay. So that's tons of experiences ever since, and they haven't stopped.
I think ETs are just waiting. In a lot of people's cases, certainly I've heard this or seen this pattern. Once you acknowledge their presence, and they'll ramp it up, and it will get quite traumatic to the point because people can live in denial, they can ignore, they can explain it away, they can turn the other direction, and that's when they will come right into your room and say, listen, stop ignoring us.
Yes.
And you get that's the hardest part, I think, for most people, is that first recognition and acknowledgement that this is happening, and then your experiences start becoming more interactive and spiritual and benevolent.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, and I think it's also recognizing things that are happening, because I came in, I was filming a TV show, and we were driving back along a certain route, and it had a river along the route, and all of a sudden something almost translucent, iridescent, went over the road and it went over the height of a stop sign. How high are those? 8 feet? And when we looked to the left, it was like a 400-foot drop down into the river. So I'm sitting there thinking, if that was a deer, it would not have room to pick up speed to run, to jump that high. And when we stopped and I looked, there was nothing beside me. And it was this iridescent, really bright, thing that went over the car. And of course, nobody wants to say anything and nobody wants to be that guy. Wayne finally is fed up. He just goes, okay. Did you see that? Yes, thank you. Was it just me? I'm starting to feel like I was losing my mind. And he goes, no, I totally saw that. And then it was just, that was the actual start of everything, was that one night.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh,
I know you recently moved. Did everybody floodgate with you right away, or did they hang back till you were done? I mean, what was going on with all of that?
They were very respectful because the other house, it was so bad. I won't say bad. It was so busy that we gave them the whole upstairs.
Ooh.
Because it was manor house, right? So we literally, because it kept saying the lights. So we have LED lights everywhere. So I just kept everything off upstairs, and that was for them. And you'd hear them all the time in the walls. And, you know what I mean? People seeing things behind me during the show. I'm just like,
yeah.
It was just stuff like that. And then somebody, captured a picture of me, like right in pretty much this setup, and right beside it, you see this big almond, and this, because I'm one of those like logical people going, no, it's pareidolia, I don't see anything. But meanwhile, I'm thinking, okay. People who saw it went, yeah, that's looking like something. And I was like, iridescent blending. I was like, okay. So here, this house is like freaking Sleepy Hollow. It's very quiet. I'm sure the other house is a portal because you were always wired, buzzing, lots of quartz underground. It was just like, it was crazy. This house, when I say Sleepy Hollow, I mean, it's definitely quiet. It's just, I hear music. I hear things like Gregorian chants. I hear things like pianos and flutes and Viking music, chanting. And I mean, it's forever. And I know it's dimensional because I hear it during the day. I don't hear this just at night. I just sit here. I'll be sitting here trying to work and I'm just listening to this going, okay, this is great. And it's just, I don't know. So I think with all the other noise being gone, I'm just tuning in to so much more. But in the last 2 weeks, ironically, all of a sudden, we're having visitors again, and the grays, but taller, or I don't know, grays, white, tall, white has also been here, and we have these light beings, but they tend to be, I find them very heavy-footed, and you RV them, they're light beings. They are like, you can just see a form. That's all you can see. I don't have enough knowledge about who does what to know why. So
amazing. You probably have more. It took about 5 or 6 months here where I'm at for everybody to catch up with me. It took them a while to figure out where I went,
right,
for whatever reason. And now it's like, oh no, here we go. We got a house again, and it's like, okay, who do I want to keep around, and who needs to move on? And that's about what I'm living with right now. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, for those who are just joining us, you're watching The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett, co-host with Dolly Safran, and our guest is Michelle Desrochers. She's an investigator, an experiencer of ghosts and ET stuff. She's all over TV. She's the co-host of The Outer Realm with Amelia Pisano. And yeah, we're having a fun conversation. And here's a few things I'd love to ask you, Michelle. I'm just curious because, as someone who has ghost experiences and ET experiences, I'm wondering, have you had some of these other paranormal experiences? And I've got a list of them.
Okay.
Past life recall,
Yes.
precognition, clairvoyance, out-of-body experiences, healing, or any. Oh, do you have a whole spectrum of stuff going on, I guess is my question.
Healing, I think, no. But yet I have healers in my lineage, like even going back to my great grandmother, She was like sort of like the town healer sort of thing. I've never tried though, in all honesty, so I don't know whether I can or I can't. I don't like to even go there with my like abilities, and I think it's because as the head of my own like of the investigative unit, I'm the one everybody tells everything to. So for me, it's not like I pick it up, I pick it all up, but for me, it's contaminated information because it's been given to me already, which is why I've always had to work with other people who are coming in completely blind and know nothing. It's really hard when they tell you everything because to me, it's like hard, like credible. Sure, I can pick it all up, and many times I do, but I need to be that validation to come from somebody else.
Sure.
So I always get funny with that. People say, do you do readings? It's like, no. And the reason I don't do readings, and I've never done readings, is because one time I was just a dumb person. I won't say ASS. And my best friend comes up to me and says, I need to tell if my boyfriend's cheating on me. I'm like, yes. You asked, you're my best friend. Of course I'm going to tell you. So there was no responsibility there. She tried to take her life ultimately. So for me, that was a huge wake-up call and realizing I did not want that responsibility ever again because she was my best friend. I loved her. She asked me an honest question. I gave her an honest answer. Now I would say, "Who?" You evolve and you just say no. You can't just go blurt something like that out, best friend or not. And yet people that like to read me, because I do have people who could, read me, some people better than others, but they know I'm no holds barred. If you see it, say it to me. But my mindset is a lot different than a 17-year-old girl who heard something that devastated her and just about ended her own life for it. So that was it for me. I'm just like, I don't want that responsibility. Not that I don't have spirits come at me and just peck at me until I tell the person I'm speaking to, okay, you blurt out a harmless message, but it's not something that I like to do.
Well, what about precognition or premonitions or dreams that come true? That sort of thing.
Many times dreams that come true. As far as like full-on premonition, I mean, some people can get a premonition just by sitting there. My sister is very good at getting premonitions, knowing when the phone rings, things like that, just basic things. I really think that I never really paid enough attention, which is what I think my issue was. I just never paid attention. The example I always use is if you leave a glass on the table, you go to work and you come home, you see the glass on the table. Will you say to yourself, oh, I left a glass on the table? Or will you say, that glass is moved? 9 times out of 10, and I'm no exception, and even though I know better, I will say, oh, yeah, I forgot to put the glass away today. Right? But I have a lot of past life stuff, tons of past life stuff. I would often have visitations with past life people. I would often find myself just walking in places that I know belong. A lot of my home is decorated in like literally 200-300-year-old medieval revival furniture.
With you.
Yeah, right. That's totally a past life.
Yes.
But I have have recollection of them, which is really, really weird. And it's also my lineage.
How detailed are your memories from past
Pretty
life?
detailed. Yeah, pretty detailed. But I think it depends on what it is, because I've had spirits come to me saying, don't you remember me? And I feel awful, but I don't.
Yeah.
So I just think it's the ones that I meant to remember. And I believe I meant to remember because of whatever I'm doing in life right now.
That's a theme. Yeah. I think a lot of people have that. I think that there's a reason for that. They're almost like a spirit guide hanging on you for a few minutes and saying, we need to talk, and you need to trust me. And they're good.
Right.
If the memory with them is a trusting memory, you listen to them, and hear what they have to say.
My guides don't have senses of humor. So, I will tell you, apparently I'm a problem child. So you're not listening. I hear it all the time. You're not listening. I know.
You're lucky. Mine don't talk to me at all. So I'm used to talk to you. I don't hear my guides at all, ever. Not a sound. No.
I know. It's all mediums will say, apparently your guides are saying you're not listening. If I had $1 for every time I heard that.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah. That's amazing.
I started having vague sort of past life recollections pretty young. When I started having out-of-body experiences, they came at me full force.
Right.
And I can remember like specific lifetimes of being like a Native American or in the Holocaust. And they always would take me to the death scene.
Oh, that's
most
great.
traumatic. So I'm wondering, like, what specifically lifetimes do you recall, and like what events? Because usually it's some big emotional lifetime, or one, like you said, that affects this lifetime.
Yes.
So do you have any specific people you remember being, or was it a man or a woman? I'm just kind of curious.
It's not even so much as just who I was. It's just who, I remember having an Egyptian life, and I remember having, a couple of medieval lives. I have
You were right, Dolly. Dolly mentioned Egyptian.
Yeah, Dolly and I are probably together. That's why.
That's why I said it, because
Dolly and I share lineage.
So, yeah,
we're still tagging along.
Lineage. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
I know.
I have a really big question, because you're very into the Templars and their story. And I am too. I have been my whole life. My father is a Templar. He is also a Mason.
Yes.
In 32nd and a 33rd degree arch-right, Scottish Rite Mason.
Yes.
Why are you so interested in them? Is it in your family? Do you have a Masonic history, Templar history? I'm just very, very curious about that.
I believe, and I've been told that I've been Templar in a past life. I know it runs in my family. I know that, and it's documented that, like my family lines, like from both my grandparents on my mother's side, have crossed many times, going back as far as, Templar times, Portugal. On my grandfather's side, he had a family member who was part of William the Conqueror's private guard. And they went on after that. Yeah, like he's basically, he's on the monument, whatever monument in the UK.
Wow.
But William the Conqueror stems in from my grandmother's side. So it's just weird how they keep doing this. I don't know. It's just, I also think, again, it's just family. I believe in DNA imprinting. I believe that we really are, like, we pick up on all of that from our ancestral, imprinting as well. I think it has a lot to do with everything.
I do too. I agree. My grandfather, my mother's father, was totally convinced of that. He remembers the Battle of the Bulge. And he could tell you that he was there. He remembers being there, but he doesn't think he was reincarnated from that. He says it's in my genes. And we all had a hard time with that until we realized that, oh, yes, it is in our genes.
Yes.
And we know what family members were in. And he said, see, I told you, it's in our DNA. You know stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And the Templar stuff, Masonic stuff, is very, very strong in our family. We have it for generations. And my dad once said to me, he said, it's not just what you've learned, it's in here. These precepts, these guidelines that they live by, in these stories that they lived, and how hard it was for them and what they strove for to better humanity. It's in you, and it makes you a warrior for that. And
it is.
Oh, cool.
I believe that. I believe I've always had like a warrior spirit. I'll fight to the frickin' death for anything, anybody. It's part of the reasons I've been in this field for so long, working with malevolent things or whatever. And I'm just like, I stand my ground. I've had things growl at me in my own house, and I'm like, oh, stop it. I'm going to a case, I hear, I'm like, I'll see you in an hour, mister. And I go out the door, grab my purse. Like, it's just like that. I don't care. I always say I'm either fearless or I'm a meathead. It's one of the two. I'm teetering on the edge some days. So yeah, but I have no fear. If it's there, it's so deep down that it just doesn't come out.
Yeah. When you were growing up, did you stand up for people? Like if somebody was picking on somebody?
Oh yeah. Early on. I always laugh because I'll joke around because Wayne, the new neighbors, they'd all congregate to him. I'm behind the curtain like, grr, and I know. And the joke is always like I'm like a little bit on the volatile side. I'm just like, I just don't always do well with new people. I'm private, but I've always stuck up for people. So you know.
That's totally amazing. That's totally amazing. Well, I
Yeah.
want you to tell me, how did you, I want to know, when did you meet Amelia and how did you guys join forces like you have? Because it's interesting.
Amelia's a sweetie. She actually bid on an auction to meet me.
Oh,
I know. She started off as a fan. I know. I was so honored. Like, what? How much did you bid? Because I donated my time for an animal charity. I donate a lot of my time for things like that. And she's like, nobody's getting this. This is mine. And I just laughed. So she just waited it out, came in at the last minute, slam dunked everybody. And that's how we met. She came, to my, my home. And we just did all kinds of spirit communication, had a whole lot of fun, had some dinner. And we just we really got on because, she and I share a lot too, lineage and stuff. So it's just like,
really?
Bam! Dolly's like, wow, I got sisters. So, but yeah,
Wow.
and past life stuff and stuff like that too. It really, it's interesting because we felt that like immediately. So we just, I said, okay, I had a couple of tough cases coming up because I was still doing them in person then before I pretty much just backed away from it all. And she said, do you want to come along? She said, yeah, it sounds like fun. So we just did it. We just started and found, techniques because things are just given to me. Things are just said to me. She wasn't in the paranormal. She just came in. She worked in crime and then came in and just said, okay. So I just said, all right, I'm just going to say, this is what's going to happen. We're going to do it. And I don't know where all the information comes from. She said, what do you want to do now? I'm like, wait. Okay, we're going to do this. It's just like,
That's amazing.
It's weird how it happens, hence the mama thing.
I think that we all pre-planned to be here, and at the right moment, we're all supposed to join forces with one another. And I think things are happening, and we're running into each other now.
I agree. I think everybody comes together, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's obviously when I see you two on your show, The Outer Realm. You guys are a riot. It's a great show. It's so much fun.
She's a comedy relief, really. I'm trying to be serious. But then again, I nicknamed her Bubbles. So it's like, Bubbles, knock it off. I didn't even laugh, really, So it's a great, it's a great union. And at one point we were probably doing about, I'll say cases. I don't like to say cases, but it sounds like better than people. Doing 100 people a night sounds really wrong on levels. I don't even want to go there, but yeah, 100 cases, not a night. About 60 a night. It'd be about 60 a night, about 4 nights a week. And that's international. But I also do what a lot of people don't realize because, for years, people just nicknamed me the Queen of the Dark Realm because I deal in dark things. They don't realize, well, you have to deal in dark things to be able to deal in everything. And I actually do a lot of planetary and light work is what I spend a lot of my time doing and very successfully, so that's pretty much where a lot of my time.
Yeah. I don't see it as light and dark as much as it's just different forms of energy.
Shadow work, things like that.
Right. Yeah. And it takes sides, and things work against each other sometimes, or there's in the middle. It just depends on what it is. So
you always have, some mischievous little dark child that needs to be spanked every now and then.
Every now and then. Yeah.
That's that.
I just want to mention that all of you guys in chat who have questions, I see the questions. We'll be getting to them in the second hour. So don't worry, just keep them coming. Right. And what I wanted to talk a little bit and get into is how you sort of moved from doing just work behind the scenes and with other people to moving into the media and forming the Outer Realms and doing going on TV. That's a big deal. I remember the first time I was on TV, I was a wreck.
Right.
Oh my God, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
TV came first.
Cameras and
this is true, and you're sweltering under them too. You want it got an itch, you can't move, and you're just like, right?
How did that all roll out? I mean, what was first?
I started out just doing ghost tours, and then TV just always found me. Even the person I was working with at the time, they just always kept coming. And I've never had to, and I can honestly say, never have I had to go seek it out. It's always come to me because I believe I've had positions of past lives where I made that difference by being out there somehow, whatever the case may be. Right. I've always been, for the most part of my recollections, in a position where I could reach people in one form or another. This is no different. It's just a different platform. And I mean, it went on for still, I mean, and I just did like a, documentary like last summer. But I pretty much like retired from it because I'm just tired. And that's not just television. I mean, I've got like probably about 6 pages of credits to my name, lots of media, but it's radio, it's print. And I do a lot of, and what I really enjoy is consulting and creating shows. So television, people will message me and say, yeah, like, well, we're looking for ideas for this, or we need people for this, or we need a show name for this. And somehow I'm just really good at, at names, and I'm just like pop them out, and it's like, okay, how about this? How about this? I filled entire seasons of shows just with what was needed and people and things like that. I like the behind the scenes stuff, but the outer realm came to be because we had a producer. I started off with a really good friend of mine named Jack Kenna, who a lot of the paranormal people will know also from a lot of the shows I've been on. We met on the set of, I think, Paranormal Survivor. And we had a producer who wanted to create a show for us. But they said, we'd just like to see you guys do more together. So we just started the Outer Realm based on that. But I'm copyrighted. And when you're on Facebook and not streaming through a network per se, Facebook owns all of that. And I'm like, well, you're not owning anything that has to do with me for the most part that I care about anyway, So I basically, when I went to the radio station, started syndicating to the United Public Radio, because Joe and I have been friends for a long time. And then after that, when everything shut down, I just came up. But I came with a really huge fan base. My TV fan base followed me to radio. And Jack had basically at one point said, I am a better guest than I am a host. This is not for me. I'm like, yo, Bubbles, you want to come on? Let's have some fun. She's like, yeah, I'm down. So we just have a lot of fun with it. And that's what the Outer Realm that you see today came to be.
How long have you been at it with her, with Amelia?
Probably 2019, I guess. Yeah. Wow. Been a while now. 2 years. Okay. Yeah. And we're nominated for another People's Choice Podcast Award this year.
That's awesome.
Even if you don't win, it's such an honor.
Everybody within the sound of my voice right now, please go look that up and vote. And it's on her website and on her Outer Realms.
It's coming. Yeah. You're going to see a lot coming on the network, because I'm sure other shows will also be nominated. And you're going to start seeing all the promo coming up pretty soon. So I'm told.
What do you think about all this stuff going more mainstream? Because back in the day, this was not at all mainstream. Now there's ghost shows all over TV, UFOs. I mean, this is, Congress is talking about UFOs, and
I know
people are going, okay, maybe this isn't so wacky after all.
Well, it's tough because I'm really I go back in ancient times. I'm a big researcher of everything. I double, triple, quadruple check everything, cross-reference. I do my homework when I speak about things. But of course, the United States comes on board, and they were one of the last countries to do so. There were so many other countries that came forward with their information, and I'm sure there's still countries out there that they all only give you a portion. They never give you everything, of course, but the fact, I think, that the United States is the leader, in military, everything, they're the ones that everybody's waiting for. Doesn't matter how many other people came forward. I think when the United States came forward and said, okay, can't beat them, join them. Everybody, I mean, like I say, how many times have you seen me say, everybody's got one of these now. People can take photographs. People can have their experiences. They can document their experiences. I think they're just getting to the point where it's like, well, we may as well go with it because it's to their advantage, because people will give them their accounts, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm sure we share similar views on some of that, but
I have a question. This has plagued me for a little while. It is my opinion, just saying up front, that television and movies and things like that media, the news services, have a narrative. And most of the podcasts and the radio shows that I listen to or keep up with have not got a set narrative. They're very wide open, and they're very open to hearing everybody speak, and nothing is really filtered out of it. And I was wondering how you felt about that. Does that play into why you do certain things a certain way, that kind of thing?
With television, one thing I did learn, I've worked with some amazing producers, and I've worked with some producers that have no integrity. And the ones that have no integrity I would never work with again. So there is a formula. You'll see every few years the formula will change. I don't know how many times I've sat in the hot seat on a lot of the shows that people have seen me on, and I will give 4 or 5 answers to every question, but there's only one question or one answer that they're interested in, and that's demon. I'm sure half the world thinks I run around screaming demon over every stupid little thing, but I'm actually the most logical person I know. And you might hear me say psychokinesis more often than not, or like there's too many variables, but they want that selling factor. They're in the business of ratings, and ratings, scary is what gives you ratings. But it's so congested now. There's so many shows out there now. I've turned down my own series over the years at least 4 times, and because I was like, it's ridiculous. Somebody actually said to me one time, "We like to give you a show, and we're going to call it Ghost Sweepers." I'm like, "What? What's Ghost Sweepers?" "Well, clearing houses." "What?" I don't think so. I don't even want to be affiliated with a name called Ghost Sweepers on clearing houses. So no, thank you. So it's just gimmicks, and it's so congested. And I think I'm glad that there's a lot of people who do, ghost researching. I'm glad for that. There are a lot of people, though, who watch these shows thinking this is the way it is.
Right.
And you go out and do a lot of damage because it's not the way it is. I mean, you only see a very small portion. Take it from someone who has filmed for 6 hours or 10 hours, and all you see is like 45 minutes, 40 minutes once they cut the commercials or put all the commercials in. You only see the very best of the best. And I just got to a point where I'm tired and I just don't want to do it anymore. So I retired from it. I say semi-retired because if the right project came along, I would do it, I think. If the documentary I did was on UFOs, which is like, okay, this is good. But at the end of the
What if you
day,
had total control? Like what if you were the writer, you were the producer?
oh,
It's power. It's your show.
yeah, it would be a lot different. I don't think people realize how different the show would be, because I was asked to create a show, and they said, you can do whatever it is you want to do. And I'm like, oh boy, okay. So they said, you could create a show, and we gave you control as to what you wanted to do. What would it be like? And I created a show. It was very history based. It was a matter of how, why, for example, Mallory on Everest, what happened? What were his last thoughts? What were the events leading to that? What was he thinking? Is he still there? Like, that's just one scenario. And that show got approved for funding. In fact, the Blue Ant Productions, who pays for a lot of the shows up here, they agreed to pay for the majority of the show if I did it. England, it falls on England, United States, and Canada. Canada and England put forward their funding. United States now, because I'm not American, not only did they not take it on, but they took the story and ended up being, yeah. And I won't get into too much because I actually like the person who ended up doing it. And I'm like, wasn't it nice that I could create a show for Travel Channel? That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit leery about putting things out there. But so now I do it for, if they approach me, if somebody approaches me and says, hey, help us create a show. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I have a little bit of mixed feelings about TV. I've done, 10 or 20 shows, and
Yeah.
I've talked to Dolly about this. I'll be interviewed for all day even, and I end up with 3 minutes on some shows.
Yeah.
And they will actually, they've twisted my testimony to turn it to the opposite pretty much of what I said.
Yes.
And it's a good opportunity. I get that.
But is it?
If your content's going to be obliterated for somebody else's, you shouldn't do it,
That's the problem is that, if it stereotypes you, was what it did with me, demon. I'm versed in it. Absolutely. If that's what you want to talk about, okay. But I can give you a lot of really ancient stuff on that from many different cultures. It's not so black and white. It really isn't. But if it stereotypes you, and it goes against what you do, is that worth doing it? I did it for a lot of years. I mean, decades. Like I said, some of the producers were amazing. I'm like, don't you put that there? And they don't. Those are the good producers. But I mean, when you're filling, like an entire season for them, they're going to work with you.
Okay.
Wow.
That's good to know, actually. Okay.
All right. I think it's time for a little station break. So let's just remind people that you are watching The Light Gate. My name is Preston Dennett. I'm an author researcher. Dolly Safran is my co-host. She's a lifelong experiencer, contactee, fully conscious, by the way, and the subject of my book, Symmetry. Our guest is Michelle Desrochers, and she has a very long list of accomplishments. She's super psychic, funny as all get out, as Dolly would probably like to say. And yeah, all kinds of television credits, and does ghost hunting and UFO experiences. And this show is on the United Paranormal Radio Network. You can catch it at 105.3, 107.7. We're streaming on YouTube and other platforms as well. And we're going on for the second hour right now. And we will be answering questions shortly after we get out just the last part of what Michelle wants to make sure we talk about that we haven't covered yet, or if Dolly has any other questions.
Yeah, well, ask away. It's not too much I can't answer. So if not, I'll give you some comedic relief.
Okay. You might do it now from what I'm going to ask you.
Oh.
Your fondest desire right now, as far as everything that's happening around us and going on, and that you want to communicate to people, and the value of the platform you have on your show with Amelia. What is the one thing that you want people to remember about your message or who you interview? What is that?
Oh, that is very varied. The Outer Realm was created with the intention of providing a platform, and in the description it says for people at the top of their respective fields to come forward and discuss it, and to do it in a way to raise awareness. I mean, I've had people like Captain Paul Watson from Sea Shepherd on there.
I love him.
Yeah, I love him too. I was really honored that he came on the show a couple of times. So it was raising awareness. Now of course, we've got the Captain Paul Watson Foundation. I really want to say that. But people who have come on, like you guys, sharing your story and having millions of people listen to it, because we have about 3 million people a night who listen to our show. And our archives are, we're very fortunate. So I would love to see more people come forward and tell their stories. I would love to see more people come forward and lose the fear. I know it's hard, but I'd like them to lose the fear. We live in different times, and I think we're being conditioned to fear a lot of things right now, whatever that may be, and I'd like to see people open their minds, because there are some fascinating things out there, and people can't often get their head around the fact that, what, Bigfoot's real? Yes. Try RVing him. Yes. And you learn the little secrets of what some of these beings do, and it's just nothing that I would never put it out there. There's some things that you just can't put out there because it would bring harm.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's so amazing about you hosting the Outer Realm with Amelia, is that you get to talk to all these people, and that gives you such a broad base of knowledge on so many subjects. And if ever you have a question, you can just, hey, I want to bring this expert on.
Yeah.
Next thing you know all this stuff. So
yes, I think though that's what makes you keep learning, because you have people who are coming on. So, I want to learn more about these people. I deal a lot of agents and publishers will, contact me and say, look, we want to bring the people on. So it's like, okay, I don't just bring them on. Mind you, I can hold my own in just about anything. I just think 20 years of educating yourself does that. I'm a firm believer in learning at least one new thing every day. And another thing about dealing with, with our extraterrestrial friends and family is that I'll start researching things. Next thing you know, I'm completely somewhere else going, how the heck did I get here? And I realize, somebody wants me to know something, because I'm just all of a sudden on a total different topic that means absolutely nothing to what I started out with.
Yeah.
But you know what? I ended up having to know that.
For what you were doing next, right?
Yes.
That happens to me actually. Preston can tell you. I go crazy because I switch gears sometimes because I'm hearing something or getting something. It's like, oh, I need to pay attention to this right now. It
Yes.
thinks I'm crazy sometimes because I do that. So that's fantastic. That's what being an intuitive on the very high level is, because you're not ignoring anybody or anything.
No. Not at all. And you gave me a little tidbit when I was filming last summer, because the communication, was happening for film, and you said Clara is going to be there, and during this recording, during the communication, which the producer has, I will try to get it for you, and I said, who's here, and that's the name that was given.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah, right. There's one for you right there.
Yep, that's him. Yep.
That he said he's going to be there. I went, okay. I said, okay, is there anybody here right now? Bam. And very interesting. And the tone of the voice I found very interesting.
Incredible. He is old. We're all old.
Yes.
But he has that oracle thing going on.
It's the wisdom behind the voice.
Yes. And he commands your attention when he speaks, always. So,
yes. I thought you'd like to know that. Yeah.
Can I ask a couple more questions? Because I love the UFOs and the ET stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, when you see grays, is it like one figure in your room, or are you seeing more than one? Are they dressed? What do they look like? What are they doing?
A lot of times it's except for one time, which I will tell you about. It's sort of like shadowing a little bit, only because everything is pitch black. So I rely on the lighting from the windows or things like that. A lot of times it's a shuffling around, and I can tell. I think, like Wayne said one time, something pinched his toe. It was like broad daylight. He was just waking up, and he's like ah! And over just at the end of the bed, you see this little bald head, and he was just like, like that wasn't nice, And but it was just kind of like a prick on the end of on the end of the big toe. So that would be a bit of an ouch. But for me, a lot of times it's just. And he has said the same thing in the house, because we kept the house pretty dark. But what was interesting about it is the top tower had a streetlight, a tall streetlight that used to light up the whole upstairs. We didn't purposely keep it dark at night. The light, it's almost like there was a veil over the house or something. Everything was just pitch black. The term darker than dark, there was nothing. You could barely see, but forms. The only time I could see anything clear as day, because it came right through the light of the window, and I was not asleep, right? I just got into bed, and this is after weeks of many experiences happening. In fact, so many experiences at the house next door got damaged, and something went right through the house. It was ridiculous. So, but I'm just falling asleep, and I'm looking. And all of a sudden I see, and I could reach out and just touch. And I just kind of went, it was me who pulled back, because I'm like, am I really seeing this? About 4 feet tall, bald, the lenses on. And what I say, they look clothed. It looked like it wasn't naked by any means. It almost had like I always say it was like a skin tight something on it, but it looked like pigmentation to me.
Yes.
I could see pigmentation. I would describe, the closest thing I could describe it would look like is maybe like shark skin or whale skin, dolphin skin, like very thick, like almost like a texture. Yeah, texture.
You feel like dolphins when you touch that suit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if I touched him, my finger probably would have been dented. Like I felt like I could have.
That's exactly right. Yep.
That's what it felt like to me. And all I remember saying, and I'm laying there, I was like, nope. And I just rolled over. That's all I remember saying is, nope. It's like, go to bed now, and that was the end of it. I'm just like, not doing this right now. It was, but sometimes you just feel like, like a married couple has been there forever. I'm just like, I have a headache. I'm not going to work tonight. No.
Not tonight. Yeah.
I know. It's exactly like that. So, yeah.
That's totally cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, one more question. Can you see auras?
No.
Okay, that's exactly why you have the vision problems at night. Okay, that
Yeah,
explains
I
a lot.
don't. Yeah, I don't see. Not. I mean, have I seen colors before? Yes, but if there's no one there, does it count
Yeah,
as an aura?
yeah,
I don't know. So
right.
no.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see
I don't believe I
energy.
can.
I
Yeah,
can see everybody's energy all the time, light or
yeah.
dark. It doesn't matter. And when the lights
No,
go out at night,
I
if I'm
just
in
feel it. I can
black, I
sense
see
it,
everything
absorb it.
daylight. Yeah,
I can move energy. So I can take it from you. I can give it to you. I can move
yeah.
it away. I can project it, reverse it, things like that. But
So
seeing
you
it,
feel
I
it.
don't believe I can. Yeah.
Okay, you feel
Oh,
it.
I could feel it. I can move it. If someone's projecting energy at me, I can spin it and put you on your ass.
Woo! Okay, that's cool. That's good to know because
My
I was wondering.
grandfather's taught me that at a really young age. It's
Okay,
just a very natural ability. I believe anybody who works in energy can
yeah,
do it if you know how. Anybody can do it. We're all made up of energy. It's not hard to work with energy. We're energy.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Anybody can do this.
I've only seen auras like a few times. A couple of teachers at school. The one I really liked, I could see his aura in front of the blackboard. And
Right.
Christy, my sister-in-law, who I work real closely with, she's super spiritual. I saw her aura clear as day once, just white. I'm like, whoa.
See, I think that's like amazing. I wish I could. I've had people say to me, you have a really rare aura. Some people have said it's almost some crazy type of purple, but almost like an indigo. It's not a purple
It
purple.
is. It's blue purple, indigo purple. I'm looking
There
at
you
it.
go. Yeah.
I can see it. Yeah,
Yeah. So
and
there we go.
it's very dense. Also, it's not
Yeah.
people's auras either move out and they get a little bit less opaque.
Oh yes, I'm in your
Yours is like
face.
closed in and it's dense as all
Probably
get
why
out.
my head's clouded. Can move my aura over. Just shook my halo. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So how do you guys feel about answering some questions from the chat?
Of course. Do you want me
All right.
do you want me to start from the top? Do you want me to start from the bottom? What do you want me to do? Because I get to do things like this.
You go for it.
I can see one from Santana Barish.
Wow, where are we starting? The top or the bottom? Because you have to remember, I'll explain to people the way the soundboard works is we have 10 destinations coming in right now. The only one that does not have a chat room is Roku.
Yeah.
So it's like a 10-lane highway coming down to 2.
We're going to give you the controller.
Okay, so why don't we start? I'll kind of go. We have a lot of people wishing everybody really well and congratulations. Thank you for you guys. Hoarded secrets. There's a lot of comments here, so we can address comments whenever you want. Questions, you have to just guide me. Oh, here's one for you, Preston. Go.
It's not a question.
There we go.
I love you too, Stella.
Okay, here we go. Let's go with Dolly.
Okay. Have you been taught about the paranormal during your experiences? I'm like Michelle, was born this way, and my life has been the experience literally of developing on a daily basis my abilities. I'm very intuitive and I know when I'm on and when I'm not. And I had a great grandmother in the house with me who was very psychic and knew a lot more than I ever imagined she knew. And my father as well. And I was just guided. I did have one guide in my life, and it was not like a spirit guide, but it was a entity that had lived so many times. It was now working with different of us on this planet who were already intuitive. And I called her Kuba. And she stayed with me until I was about 8 years old. My mother heard her speak once and smashed into my room. She knocked the door completely down trying to get to me. She thought a man was in there with me, even though I perceived her as a female. She had a very deep voice. Years later, I realized that my daughter is also very intuitive and developing on her own the same way. And one day in the house, she's, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old, and she starts talking about Sabri Kuba. And I'm like, huh? Huh? And I realized, oh my God, she's talking about Cuba, but she's calling her Sabri Cuba. And she stayed with her as well for a long time. I think when you're born using your abilities in families that are intuitive as a whole and
encouraging.
Yes, right? Very much so. Encouraging. I was encouraged to be intuitive. I drove my mother crazy at times, but she never stopped me from using my abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had anything like that, Michelle, where a spirit has told you, like, this is something you can do to increase your mediumship abilities, or like advice from spirit?
Well, yes. I mean, a lot of times I'll get things from source. I've been told I'm very connected to
Yes,
source,
right?
and I tend to really, I really, I'm humble like that. I think I don't really think it's just me. I'm not that special. I'm just me.
That's right.
But
You're
apparently,
spiritual.
well, way, but like comedic relief kind of special, or but no, I just I am very connected to source. Things come
Yeah.
very, very. It's very easy for me that way. But I find my family has been more instrumental. Even my mom now is just like always like, you need to go help your aunt. I don't like my aunt. Your aunt needs help. She has had attachments, right? Because she was ornery and just a not nice person. She goes, you have to help her, but I don't like her. I says, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a woman I said, you're dead to me, never contact me again. I really don't like her. She's not a nice person. But what did I do? Okay, mother, I went and helped. We helped her. We like, okay, let's do this. We keep an eye on her now. And I really think she was the root growing up, because there's only 10 years between us, of everything that snowballed from a nasty paranormal standpoint that brought into the home, right? But I find that my mother, my grandfather, especially, he led me. He kept coming through saying, you got to go to France. I said, I don't want to go to France. I'm going to Romania. I do. I travel the world. I love to travel. He goes, you're going to France. When are you going to France? I'm like, give me the lottery, Grandpa. I'll go to freaking France. So then he started like putting things on my PVR and saying, this is where you need to go. And I'm just like, okay.
What's PVR?
Yeah. He would just put a show would show up, and I'd be just like, okay, who recorded the show? Nobody. Okay, 5 of us in the house, like nobody recorded the show. Nobody. It was all Knights Templar and the Chateau, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, and then talking with him again, one of my medium friends had said, I said, did you put that on my PVR? He goes, now she gets it. Oh, so we're sarcastic too, apparently. So, I know. So they're very, comedic about it, but they full on don't just say things to me. They will go on and put things for me to watch, or things will show up in my email, and I'm just like, oh, all right. It's just things like that. So I think they're very, very much a part
There's a lot going on behind the scenes, I think, that we don't even realize.
I agree.
I know when I'm doing the out-of-body stuff, I did have one experience where I was given advice, because sometimes you're out of body and it's a lucid dream.
Yes.
You're not perceiving reality. And it was very frustrating. And I couldn't get past it. And I'm shouting out like, all illusion go away. And this spirit, I guess, appears and just say, all illusion end. Just say that. And I did. And it all crumbled away. And I had this really cool experience. It was awesome.
See, that's wonderful. If you can do control of that. I love lucid dreaming. I used to be able to stop, rewind, fast forward, repeat. I do all kinds of things. I could do the same dream, pick it up from where I left off, and like, no, I liked it better here. Go back over there and continue it over and over. But after having children, it didn't work right anymore. So I couldn't do it.
Thank you for saying that. I had the same problem. I didn't have my child until I was 32, and I was really great at lucid dreaming, and then it went away. And I've never understood that since. Thank you.
I can't get it back either. I miss it for sure. All right. Miss Safran, it's for you.
Why do the aliens choose certain people like you and Bledsoe and me? That's an interesting question. They choose more than you think. Just a lot of us don't talk about it openly. I've learned this since I came into openly speaking about things. There's a lot of us out there. There really are. And it's because we are at this time chosen to be here. We chose ourselves, and we're all here for a purpose. And we're more intuitive or psychic, where we were brought into environments where we can use our abilities, and they know it, and they contact us right away. They're aware of us quickly. And the message is literally explain it to everybody. We're not the only ones. We're not that special. No way. I'm no better than anybody else on this planet. Everybody has the same chance or the same way to use their abilities like I do. All you have to do is begin the process of learning it. Even at this stage in your life, no matter what age you are, you can develop it. It's a possibility. And that's ET's one of their main messages, clean up, no nuclear. Use your abilities. Wake up. Talk to us every day. Talk to the all mind of the universe. Just come on, let's go. And that's it. You can do this. You really can.
Something agrees with you.
Yeah. Okay. Michelle, this one's for you.
All right. I have another question from my chat here. The synthetic nature wants to know, would like to ask Michelle if she has any contact or sightings of cryptids like Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. So we're not doing this one yet. Where's the other one? Okay. I'll go with that. Yes, I have. And I believe it was a direwolf.
Ooh. Okay.
And I say that because it was the middle of the day. It was March back in 2018, I believe. Nice sunny day. And I was just doing dishes, you know, so of course my hands are, no, I don't use dishwashers. I really do prefer to do my dishes. And I had a huge picture window. I had an 1.5 acres surrounded by a ravine near the botanical gardens. And all of a sudden I see something run across the back of the property and it's chasing a rabbit. I'm like, huh. So I see this rabbit kind of go, and it slides in under one of the outbuildings. And I grew up north with timber wolves. Okay, so I know what a big, crazy, lanky, nutty wolf looks like. Big, big. This thing was not just big, but it had girth to it. It was really wide. And it ran chasing this rabbit, and it spun around. It's like putting the brakes on it, and it went up like this, almost like a horse would. I'm sitting going, my hands soaking wet, going, and then it went down and it stood there, like just fully erect, just, you know, on all fours, just stood there looking. And I'm like, if I move, because there's a big picture window, I don't have a phone because it's in the den, because I'm washing dishes. I have my phone. And I'm sitting there going, if I move, this thing's going to go. I just want to watch it. And then all of a sudden I had to move, you know, and it looked over at the house, it spun around and it went down to the ravine. So Wayne came to the house and he took pictures of everything. He put his hand next to a paw print in the snow. So there's a bit of a drag to it. So it's, you know, it was a bit hard to get it clear, but he put his hand next to it and it was the size of his hand. And Wayne's like 6'2". He's got big hands.
Wow.
That's what I believe it was. There've been a lot of things in the area. There's what I guess what people call dogman up there that, you know, in Canada they call them like wolf people. And there's been a lot of sightings in the area of that. My daughter used to see things out in the backyard that would just, you know, walk around on two legs. You know, at the manor house, we heard stories of it all the time. Something was loping down the road, this big, tall, lanky thing with a really long snout. And it just had a real menacing feel about it. And another friend of ours saw the same thing. And he was at a stop sign. So he didn't want to proceed because this thing just kind of loped by him. And all of a sudden got behind a lamppost and then stood up and walked out a man. He's sitting there kind of going, where's Wolf? Where's the dog? Nothing. So yeah, I mean, fair share of things.
Amazing.
Like in real time, not RV time or anything. So, you know, yeah.
That's totally cool.
Yeah.
It even described you. I mean, I know what you're describing and I know what they are. And I've seen them not on this planet though. I've seen, well, in a weird kind of way I have, but not in the way you would imagine. But I have seen them elsewhere, and they're standing up. They're almost 10 feet tall. They're about between 8 and 9.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they're incredible.
They're
and
big.
They have quad hands and feet, and they can run on all fours if they so desire. And they're
it's like a loping too, like this.
Yes.
Like a horse almost, like a gallop, a big lope. And it's like their back legs get ahead of them, you know? It's weird. They're all legs.
Just like a cheetah, they run. Yes.
Yes.
Put those two back feet forward, and then they drag them back, throw them back. It's cool.
Do you guys want this one? What do you want?
For both Dolly and Michelle, why do you both think some people have lifelong interest in UFOs and the paranormal, despite having never had anything strange happen to them?
Go ahead, Dolly. Take it away.
I guarantee you, if you're thinking about it, you've had contact. You just don't remember for some reason. You're blocking it. You're not experiencing it for some reason mentally. You just have taken that out of the equation for yourself. You're more interested in life here and what you're doing. But if you're seeing them and you do think about it and you are, just totally drawn to the subject, oh yeah, you've had contact. Almost everybody on this planet has. You just don't realize how prevalent it is. So
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Absolutely.
Okay, next. Just put them up. I can say them all here.
Although I have not been able to remember anything, much of all of this is so natural to me. I am now 81. Is there still a purpose for me? Oh, heck yeah. Your age, I want to tell you something. ET does not have the ET. When I say ET, I mean all of them, okay, that I am in contact with and know of even further out. They don't have a galactic federation. They have wisdom, and they have evolved billions of years ahead of us. It's not 100 years. It's not 1,000 years or a million. It is literally billions of years ahead of us. They have harnessed the ability to work with light, and they are wise beyond anything you could possibly imagine. And when they're working, or they're even just communicating with one another, if there is something that needs to be ferreted out among them or agreed upon, it's called consensus. And I find it interesting that Whitley used communion, because that's close to what that means. In communion together, they have consensus, and it's always the wisest of them all, and it usually means the oldest of them all. Your position in this world has been usurped by people who don't want the value of what you know or understand. And that breaks my heart, because 81, I would sit at your feet and listen to anything you had to say. Literally, you have purpose. Don't never forget that. You have a lifetime of knowledge and abilities that you should be sharing, and don't worry about it. Yes, they have interest in you still. Your experience is important to them as well.
Yeah, we're all immortal beings too, so that's
Right,
important
yes.
to remember.
Exactly.
I just wanted to address this one, if it's okay with you guys, because
Yes.
he was basically just saying, hoping that I didn't see a coyote wolf hybrid. Or coy wolves is what they call them here. No, we have tons of coyotes, and like I said, I've spent my life around wolves, and I can assure you, even a coy wolf is quite small in comparison to even a wolf. So, and they're really mangy looking too. This guy wasn't. At first, I thought I was looking at a Malamute or a big husky, because I've owned many Siberian Huskies. Like, I've probably owned about 8 Siberian Huskies in my life. So, I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's a big Malamute, It's like, oh, no, Malamute. So, no. So,
There's
no,
more stuff out there. There's still an enormous amount of wilderness. I don't think people realize we're very much clustered in cities, and the earth has got huge tracts of wilderness. Bigfoot is real. Dogmen, that really surprised me when I started getting the reports of that.
Yeah. That's
cryptids.
Dogmen, we have a story of folklore here, a place called Port Robinson. They call it the Port Robinson Beast. And it's been seen by many people. And this one woman came forward and gave a story one time. And I'm like, oh, well, what story was that? She goes, well, I was with a friend of mine, and they were just having, I guess it was just like a bridal shower camping or whatever. And they went out to get to their car, and something started chasing them. They got in the car, this thing paced the car. So they finally got ahead of it with the car, got home, they thought they left it way behind. They woke up the next morning. It found them, and there was claw marks and big dents down. The thing just tore the side of the car. So I was very angry. Probably didn't really feel like racing the car. I don't know, but it was, that was it for them. So
I'd move. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. Yeah, I was kind of like, not enough room for the two of us. I'm out. Don't you worry about it. So,
God.
Yes. So here, Preston.
Go ahead.
All right. It says, you mentioned that people have much more experiences after acknowledging ETs. Have you yourself had them show up more at all? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I grew up Well, I think there are a few hints of the sightings here and there that there was possibly contact, but I certainly didn't acknowledge it. But once I realized that this was real and started studying it, I started having a lot of sightings, and it just moved closer and closer and closer. Till one day I woke up and felt a cat walking across my bed, but I don't have a cat. So that woke me up. And I'm like, well, there's something next to my bed, and my heart went bum, 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 bum. And it just ran out. I'm like, well, I'm going to just turn it back and go back to sleep. And yeah, it's definitely ramped up. It was really my breakout year was 1991, about 5 years into researching this. And I had like 5 sightings that year. And it's just been nonstop. And now, yeah, memories of going on board for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's little snippets too, because for me, I had a memory and I thought maybe I woke up, I was on a ship. Like I'm thinking like a boat ship, because I remember the portal I was looking out. To me, I would associate with being on like an ocean liner. But realistically, I was looking at the stars. So I'm thinking, okay. Was I in the brig? I don't know. Was I misbehaving? Somebody threw me in the brig and just gave me a little peek outside. Well, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, many times I've just been told, you want I say, okay, I'm ready to go to the stars tonight. Let's go. And I wake up like feeling exhausted. I'm like, why me? I want to work. Just want to like a little sightseeing. But apparently they work me pretty hard. So, yeah. So there's another one. There we go.
Okay, or Michelle, why do these ETs visit at night in bed when people will be most vulnerable and scared? I assume ETs have to sleep as well. Why not during the day, most of the day?
That's what I'm always saying. Go ahead, Dolly.
Yeah,
explain to the nice people while they enter the boudoir late at night.
One of the reasons is this. During the day, the sun is actively able to send a lot of energy toward the earth in daylight, wherever the earth is facing the sun in daylight. And it is harder for them to fly here under those circumstances. They can, but it has to be in a certain way, and they go very fast, and they don't really want to land. The only time I've ever heard of them coming down during the day is like for schools, things like that. They mostly come at night because you're isolated, you're where they know you're going to be, you're away from everybody else, and they can control the situation better. And you're more apt to be less aggressive to them. If you come down during the day into somebody's house, they're apt to kick you, shoot you, or whatever. That has happened, unfortunately. So yeah, it's nighttime and it's preferable. And it's because they can make sure that everybody else around you in the neighborhood is not aware of them. They can get better. There's lots of things that they can do for you.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be. Our governments are very hostile to these guys,
Right.
So they have to take steps to make sure that they are protected as well.
Yeah.
So then you would say that's probably the one thing that people need to get over is that.
Yes, just get over it. If you see one, everybody has a choice. Like you realize this now. If you say no, they'll go away. They will not bother you.
Right.
Nobody's taken forcibly. You do agree to it. You actually do. They can read your mind all the way to the core of your being, and you're having more than one conversation in your head at a time. Even when we're talking to you, you're thinking on your own, despite us. And they can.
What are the aggressive ones then? I'll turn the table on you guys for a second. Welcome to the Outer Realm spinoff. No. So what's the hostile ones to you guys? Like, what are hostile experiences? What would you say that is?
There's a couple of reasons for those. They're not ET, point blank, they're not ET. You're looking at my labs, or you're looking at somebody who's so afraid. Their perspective is this is a demon, and they're going to be terrified of it no matter what happens. And they'll see anything that's going on as hostile and aggressive and manipulative. And they won't be changed out of it. Their thinking is so tight and so into that they won't see it any other way. Sometimes if you talk to them and get them to calm down about it and see things as they happen, take them back to it, point by point by point. And they start to open their eyes and go, wait a minute, they didn't attack me. They didn't harm me. Not really. They just examined me. Oh, they kept saying it's going to be all right. We're not going to harm you. And you help them to see it for what really happened.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get a different result in their emotional response to it. But a lot of people here are taught to be afraid of everything, to be paranoid, to think everybody's out to murder you. You know, you're not safe, or you're demons according to your religion. I mean, it's crazy. And those are the most terrifying experiences that I hear people retell to me, that that's their perception at the time.
Right.
And that's sad. That's
well,
why
it's understandable. I mean, because look at how we treat each other on this planet with the greed and the crime and the lies and the corruption and the war. So we kind of project that onto others. And yeah, I think people are absolutely afraid. And I've talked to a lot of people who said, no, I did not choose this. You can say that I did, but I did not. Well, consciously, yeah, but we have a splintered consciousness. We compartmentalize, we deny. So there's part of you saying, no, I absolutely don't want this. I'm afraid, go away. There's a part of you that is very curious and did say yes and did agree to
I want to explain that, okay? I want everybody to understand something. You have a physical mind. You're indwelling a body with a physical mind. Your consciousness, who you really are, is not speaking to that because you're in a system here where you've been separated from it. Your psychic abilities are down and your consciousness cannot freely communicate with your brain. In other words, you've got a driver in the driver's seat who is totally clueless about which way to go and what to do. And the physical mind is having to overextend itself to figure things out without consciousness seeding with it. But you are giving permission. Your consciousness is going, hey, nice to see you. Let's have some fun together. And it's trying to convince your consciousness to let you do it. And it's conflicting and it's hard for people to take. They don't see themselves in that light at all.
So is that missing time? Is that
yes, that's absolutely.
Or is that my lab?
Well, my lab doesn't, I don't know.
Just loop
Preston
you.
probably knows more about my labs than I do. I try to shy away from it. I don't want. But my understanding is that they're more conscious of that contact than they let onto you. And it's not really that they're out of it, but they are because they're drugged or whatever. And that bothers me a lot that we do that to each other here. They have that kind of control over humanity. I mean, everything we do here has got some regulation to it. It's too many laws. I mean, you have to obey, and people naturally will go with the MyLab experience, and then it becomes a horror to them. So
yeah, I agree. You guys ready for another question? May I put it up for you?
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Are they using the children for the hybrid program to plant on Earth when we fully shift? Okay. There's two questions there, and they're not easy to answer, so I'm going to try. There is no hybridization program. We are all hybrids, all of us. We are related to them. We are related to each other. Every one of you, if you had your DNA strung all the way out, you would see how many ethnicities you are. We are fully human. That is your race, the human race. We're Homo sapiens sapiens here. All of us. Doesn't matter what we look like, that's who you are. They are also Homo sapien, not sapiens, but another integrated type of human genomic genotype. Are we fully breedable with one another? Yes. Hybrid, when you say hybrid, like when we hybridize animals, like you put a horse with a donkey, you're going to get a jackass. And 9 times out of 10, that poor jackass is going to be sterile. So please don't think of it like that. That's not what this is. It's called keeping our genetics up and diverse. We are their children. We belong to them. We're all related. We can breed back and forth. And they're holding up our genome, and we're holding up theirs right now. Because if you check history, back in the 60s and the 70s, the men on this earth, for whatever reasons, and there's several, started becoming sterile, and it became a problem. It scared everybody. And that is basically what started happening to them as well. If you wear tighty whities, that's one reason. You hold your testicles up near your body, or you hot tub all the time, you're not going to have a lot of anything going on. It damages them. So it's the male population that was mostly having an issue. With them, it was the female population because they spend more time in space. They have gamma radiation coming in and it messes with their DNA bad. It does ours as well, just so you know. And it was making genetic changes to the females. The polycystic ovarian syndrome is one of their syndromes as well. And so they've been with us from the beginning of our existence. Okay, they've been back and forth with us throughout our entire time on this planet. And yes, we breed back and forth with one another. Yes, they have had interactions with us. They do not totally interfere in our lives. They're autonomous beings. We are autonomous. We all live here together. And it is our job to work out what we do with one another on this planet. If we make a problem, we have to fix it. And they bloody well know that. And we should bloody well know it too. Okay, go ahead.
I think this might be a spin-off. Part B. There we go.
I've heard some contactees say humans have a diverse collection of genetics in them that are fairly uncommon in the cosmos, and other beings know this about us. Is that true? No, it is not. Absolutely false. That's propaganda. That's false information, misinformation. We are not unique above everybody else. There is nothing special about us. When I asked for Preston to write Symmetry, the title Symmetry, it is because this entire universe has symmetry, and it has a really hard base to it. You know, everything where the physical is in the third dimension, first, second, third. In the fourth, we start to lose a little bit of that. In the fifth, we completely lose cohesion, and you can be non-corporeal and just be who you are in fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th. No, we are not special. We are all related throughout the universe. There is symmetry throughout the whole thing. If you study your body and how it works and what it looks like and assess it in how it corresponds to everything on this planet, you'll see the whole universe opens up to that as well. That's why the scientists on this planet decided that there was intelligent design here, because they started to see it and they're going, oh, look, here we go. So there you go.
Right.
So is it just another species of humans and they're going to be coming here with us soon?
That was after your last
No such
explanation I
species.
put up for you guys.
Humans are one species. The human genome is the only species amongst us who are in this form. Other animals are different species, like dogs are different species, cats are different species. Now, there are some animals that have evolved on their side of it into conscious, cognizant, bipedal, same thing, eat, write, communicate, and are highly, highly intelligent. They've evolved into that. The animals here have not, although we have some really intelligent animals. These are different species from us. We are human genome, and so are they. Okay.
Yep, that's the message so many contactees get. Very simply, almost the same words. We are you, you are us, we are one. The message is we all share the same heritage.
Okay, can I add to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was testing a piece of equipment one time, and it was brand new, and I hooked up another piece of equipment to it. I like working things in reverse speech, so this way they have to convert it. It just makes it a little bit more pliable for me, because I'm funny like that. I'm very skeptical about things. And I asked, I said, who are you? We are you, you are us, we are one. That was the exact answer, and that was back in 2017.
Wow. See, I'm telling you, I saw your face light up. I'm like, wow.
I was
When
like,
Dolly told me,
for real?
I laughed out loud because I've heard that so many times.
Absolutely.
I might even have got that on recording. I may even have recorded it. I try to record the sessions. That's going back in the Wayback Machine, but if I can find it, I will send it on to you, because it was very vocal. That was exactly what it was. And I'm like,
I think we should underline that, because they keep saying it and people need to get it. We are one.
Yeah, with the explanation that I give, that's exactly correct. That is the foundation of all humanity all the way across the universe. We're all together in this. Can you imagine a creator, oh my God, whatever you want to call it, making us all different from one another? What calamity would that cause? We have a problem with that on this planet here. I want to point something out. We have a hard time seeing each other as related here, that we somehow have diversified each other out to the point that we don't recognize one another as connected. And that's horrifying. And we keep putting our ego, our mind, our bigotry out into the universe as well. It doesn't exist. We're all one, all of us.
Yeah, well, we only got 15 minutes left, so we're
Okay.
going to have to start answering questions. One guy, Louise, wants to know the Light Gate. Who picked the name? Such a promising title. That actually comes from Symmetry, and we were trying to think of a name for the show, and that popped into my mind, and both Dolly and I like, yeah, that's the one.
Yes.
Had a good ring to it. So.
Yep. Okay,
right.
what was that last question, Michelle? I want to see that one.
I'll go back and find it now. I'm scrolling up.
Sorry, I jumped ahead or behind.
Oh, no, it's okay. Go with the flow.
Do you meditate, and what are your thoughts on it? And is there a connection to the contact?
I used to meditate avidly. I don't have time anymore. But I'm a big advocate of grounding. I do grounding techniques. I like it better. I don't think that you need to. People say if you meditate, all of this will come to you. And I believe it would probably come to me faster if I did. But I don't. And for me, because like I said, I've just had this weird thing where people are already telling me I'm very connected. So I can just, and I just put it out there, and it just seems to find its way. So when I meditated, it wasn't always so much to make contact with anything as it was to just ground my energy and to center myself more than anything.
Well, that's what meditation
having happy
is.
thoughts.
Yeah,
It's just a state of being aware of what's going on inside you,
right.
relaxing, opening up to it. You meditate all the time. You're a walking meditation.
See,
Right.
I like that. I don't have to just physically sit there and do it. I'll do it Preston's way.
Once you get used to doing it all the time, you just are. And that's exactly what you do. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's always worked for me. You know, I could meditate for a couple of hours straight. I mean, my mother would come down. I would just hold my arms out at times, and they would sit there for like that for 2 hours. I never felt tired. I just totally would just leave.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So back when 18, when I had the energy to just sit there. Now I'm like, too tired. I'll fall asleep if I do, and I do fall asleep. So it just sounds terrible. Okay, so hold on. Going back in. Here's another one. There you go.
Dolly, are there other planets of humans? Yes. Okay, I'll give you a for instance. We live in the Milky Way. We're on the outskirts of it. We're on one of the outer rims. And there are about 285, maybe 286 billion planets in the Milky Way alone that are habitable and have life on them. That's a lot. It is infinite, the amount of planets in our solar, in our galactic galaxy. Think of how many other galaxies there are in the universe, all the way across it, from the center all the way out, 360 degrees. There are more than billions. It's infinite. You can't even count them. Life exists. It naturally occurs. And we are in sections, the way the ET works that I know of, where such interest in everybody. It's like, how do I put this? One of the things that we have to learn here is to love each other and be concerned for one another and work for each other. Everything isn't about me, my. It's about everybody else. And we do it from our center, from where we're sitting. At least 50 people that might need your help. And on a daily basis, you might start singling them out and saying, can I help you? ET does this naturally. They live in a universe full of people. They've divided it up amongst themselves, and they go out and visit and help each other because we need help. You don't let your kind or your other brothers and sisters perish or bewildered. And if you want to teach, that's one really good way to do it. They've been teaching us for a long time. I don't know how much everybody knows that, but they have. They taught the Egyptians, they taught the Mayans, the Incans, all of the Native Americans, the Inuits. They've taught everybody, the Sama, everybody on this planet. All the native people on this planet began from being taught by them. They didn't leave them alone to wander around going, and that's what they do. That's just the way they act. And they get something from that. And if you ever tried to help somebody or worked at it in your lifetime, you'd see what that is. And it is purpose. It is work. And we're not here to play. We're just not. We're here to gain wisdom and to know all that is knowable. And then we get to proceed out. Karma's that way. You ain't leaving here until you fix it and learn it.
It's sort of like having the sense that we're here to see if we can live the physical existence, because I think if they're so highly evolved, they don't need that physical existence. And here we are, how many of us fail miserably at it?
Yeah, it's because you're not employing what you know. I mean, we are all in source together, literally in this universe. Every entity, if you're alive and you're sentient, you're in source. All of us, doesn't matter who you are. And we know everything there. We have it all, but we're not employing that. We're not using it. And our physical, the construct of the physical in the third dimension gives us the opportunity to go out and learn different things and own what we know. Okay, we experience it. We're all experiencers. We're all contactees, literally living here.
Yeah, and some of you remember it. Some of us don't.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Preston's like, yeah. I don't.
Are they us in the future? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. One of the things that I learned early, and it was revisited to me throughout my learning with them, is they took me back to about 1904, 1902. And they took me to where I had family in Sweden. And I was told, absolutely don't touch anything. If you got to drink something, that's okay, but take a sip. Don't do anything. I was so concerned about what I'd touch or what I might affect. I had my knees up underneath me at a picnic table. It was a party, and it was for a family that I'm back related to. Okay, they're my ancestors. Right. And what amazed me when I got there is that they were speaking Swedish. That's my native tongue. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And he drew me for an hour. And once at the party, he drew everybody. Everybody was taken aside and he drew them. I refused to leave the table. So he drew me sitting at the table. And Carl Larson is my relative. And when I came back, they said, good job. Don't worry about it. And I moved on with my life. Years later, as a teenager, I realized, oh my God, my great grandmother saw she loved Carl Larson. She's looking at one of his paintings. She's going, oh my God, that's you. And I looked at it and went, oh my God, I remember that. It hit me hard. And I immediately went to Mom about it when I saw her next. And I said, what happened? I was in the past. And she said, well, kind of, sort of. You were brought back to a part where you weren't yet. And you were allowed to be there for a certain amount of time without involving yourself with it at all and not touching anything. Because the past is actually the timeline. What you would call a timeline is there is no timeline. Everything we are exists simultaneously at one time. It's really hard to go back where you're at. Okay. And she said you had to learn that lesson. You weren't at that point, so you could evolve there and then come back to where you were, minutes after you left. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, well, didn't you notice that we always bring you back minutes after you left the first time? So you're not running parallel with yourself at all. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I can live all that and then come back minutes after I physically left and I'm not there anymore. And then I can come back to it where I'm going forward. She said, yes. And I said, well, why can't we do that in the future? Why can't we go see things? And she said, it doesn't exist yet. Wherever you're at, no matter who you are, what you are, why you are, there is no timeline. You're right now. You're in the moment that you're in. You can look at it, you can see it, but they try not to go to the future because it evolves to the point that they've had problems with it. They've had huge calamities, died. It can kill you actually if you go where you don't belong. And you can look at it from a distance. You can sort of see it and understand it, but you can't live it. And that's the point. And,
Dolly and I are going to do a deeper dive on that in a future YouTube episode. We're going to explore that whole thing. But personally, having interviewed a lot of people, I don't have any good evidence, and having read everything and get my hands on, that ETs are us from the future. They're people like us from other planets.
Right.
That's my assessment. I think that's what the evidence speaks to.
Yeah. There's a barrier. You can die in the past. If you physically full on go into the past and actually evolve into it, like dimensionally shift into it, it's not really there. It's like a recording, and you'll perish. There's no oxygen. There's nothing there. You will die. And that's why I was only allowed to be there a certain amount of time. And I was interdimensionally phasing when they did it. They brought me in under a certain situation. I wasn't really there, that kind of thing. I did this to Preston OBE. I took him to the past, and we were OBE, and they realize you're there. That's how I was seen by them when I was a child. They all know you're there. He had a dinosaur look him dead like, hey, food, and we had to leave because it would have come after us. But yeah, you can dimensionally shift and change, and they have that ability. They're light workers, and they actually facilitated that for me to do that.
All right, we have 5 more minutes, guys. So any more questions?
What do you want me to put up? That's okay.
Anything you can find, but let's get through as many as we can.
I'm told by some contactees that time travel is possible. You can visit the past, but the God source is in his infinite wisdom made it so you can't change it. True? I just explained it.
That's basically true. You can change it, but it would be deadly and stupid.
You would die. It would kill you instantly. You cannot affect that way. So, okay.
Okay. Let me go back and find one.
What do you think of the recent silver ball-shaped things seen on military aircraft cameras that were talked about in the recent hearings?
ET craft are man-made.
Yes, they are. The balls, the ones, if you look at them, you can see the outside of it. You can see like how it's made. It's not a solid single ball that it's constructed. You can see that. And our military, all the militaries of this planet literally have that technology already, have had it. They can watch you from afar, and they can zoom up on you. They have incredible photography lenses and stuff like that. They have the ability to use satellite tomography or telemetry to zero you anywhere on this planet, and they use them for that. They can watch wars going on. It's their eyes in the sky. So no, it is not. Okay. Do other alien civilizations use money? Well, okay. Bartering and things like that. It's like, look at our ancient history. We didn't have money right away. We had bartering where I got 10 gallons of milk. You want half of that and I'll get half of your hay or something like that. Or I'll work for you and you can help me with this. Money became an exchange. It's a recent, like in the last, 7,000 years here. And we've been 12,000 years in this iteration. So it took a while to get up to that point. Gold became important, silver became important, bronze, copper, all of it. So that was what they did. They went to those systems. ET worlds, whatever your evolution is, whatever your civilization, wherever your development is at that time, you could very well possibly be using money. Now, the ETs that I deal with do not. They don't have money. They don't need it. They don't use it at all.
I've never heard it ever.
Do they live among us now? They've bugged out. They've been bugged out for almost 2 years now.
What about hybrids?
Well, that's some of us.
Yeah,
and we're going through this by choice.
All right, we're very close to the end. Maybe time for one more question.
I want Michelle to tell us what her next guest is on her show.
Oh my God. The next guest on our show is going to be, next second. We've got a great lineup coming up. We have, let's see, Brian Baker is coming on, and he owns Superstitious Times. He talks about everything. It's just a magazine. And we're talking about what we mentioned tonight. Stigma on haunted locations, but oversaturation of television and things like that. And then on the 4th, of course, we're just having another round table, and we're going to be talking about stuff there. So there's a lot of things coming up. You guys are coming on. So you guys want to know, Preston Dennett, this guy called Preston Dennett is coming back on June 14th. And some chick named Dolly Safran is coming on July the 5th.
I've heard of her. Yeah.
I know, right?
All right. Well, you
Who are
guys,
these guys?
I want to thank everyone who came to watch us tonight. I truly appreciate it. This is our premiere show of The Light Gate. I'm the host, along with Dolly Safran. Our guest today is Michelle Desrochers. This is the United Paranormal Radio Network, streaming on 105.3, 107.7. We come every Sunday night at 5 p.m. Eastern, or 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And Michelle, do you want to give any information on your social media sites or the Outer Realm, or MichelleDesrochers.com? That's your website, right?
Oh, I can't. I don't really keep up with it. But yeah, just find me on the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano on Facebook. It's probably the best place to see what's coming up. However, Michelle Desrochers contact@gmail.com is the best way to get me. I do not communicate on social media, not because I wouldn't like to, but I get well over 100 messages a day. I can't physically keep up with it, and I can't. Not that I wouldn't like to, so apologies on that. And you can catch the Outer Realm Wednesday and Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Very cool. Well, it's been wonderful having you on as a guest.
Oh, it's a pleasure hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
We always have so much fun.
We do. Yeah. Can't thank you again enough for helping us out with this show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I know it's going to be great. You guys are going to have so many interesting things to talk about. And I know you guys are just going to get big really quick.
I hope so.
You will. I promise. I know somebody. Yeah. So
We have a guy.
have a guy. Joe Montaldo.
Well, that's our show for tonight, guys. Thanks so much. And until next time, keep looking for the truth and keep having fun.